In Midrash Echa Rabbah, it says, Im yomar lecha adam yesh chochma b'goyim, taamin. Yesh Torah b'goyim, al taamin. Which means, if someone were to come up to you and claim that there is chochma, wisdom, among the other nations of the world, you should believe them. But if they claim that there is Torah among the other nations of the world, you should not believe them. Chochma can have a number of different meanings here. It could refer to scientific knowledge, for instance, or it could refer to wisdom literature, which was a genre of texts in the ancient Middle East, which was practical advice on living your life in a positive manner. We have some books in the Tanakh which fit into this genre of Chokhmah, such as Mishlei and Kohelet. And there were some very similar books circulating in other parts of the ancient Middle East. That's Chokhmah. Chokhmah exists among the Jewish people and among the other peoples of the world. Torah, on the other hand, the Midrash claims, does not exist among the other nations of the world. What exactly this means, whether this is saying that non-Jews can have no positive contribution to the study of Torah or Tanakh, is a complicated issue, and if you look at the 3 links I've given you, Rav Gil's student has a number of blog posts where he goes into that particular discussion, which I will avoid for the moment. Whatever Torah means here, it's something which is proprietary to the Jewish people and part of our relationship with God, which the other nations of the world are either not privy to or do not have the necessary tools to give anything of their own to. So we have Chokhmah and we have Torah. But what about Nivua, prophecy? Rav Moshe ben Maimon, the Rambam, Maimonides, says in Igeret Teiman something about this issue of Nivua Bagoyim. Igeret Teiman was written by the Rambam to the Jewish community in Yemen at a time that they were dealing with a lot of hard issues. They had people claiming to be prophets running around, people claiming to be the Mashiach running around. And all these prophets and messiahs were getting the authorities a bit annoyed at them, and there were government persecutions that were being put in effect against them because of these false prophets and false messiahs. And so Maimonides wrote them this letter to explain what the Jewish view of prophecy and messiahship is, and how they can tell the difference between a true Navi, a true prophet, and a true Mashiach, and someone who is not actually a true prophet or a true Messiah. And he says, you can read the Judeo-Arabic if you want, you can read the Hebrew translation by Rav Gafech, or you can read along with me the English translation. Our disbelief in the prophecies of Omar and Zaid is not due to the fact that they are non-Jews, as the unlettered folk imagine, and in consequence of it are compelled to establish their stand from the biblical phrase, from among your own people, Mikir Bacha. For Iyov, Tzofar, Bildad, Eliphaz, and Elihu are all considered prophets by us, although they are not Israelites. On the other hand, although Hananiah ben Azur was a Jew, he was deemed an accursed and false prophet. But we give credence to a prophet, or we disbelieve him, because of what he preaches, not because of his descent. Now, if a Jewish or Gentile prophet urges and encourages people to follow the religion of Moshe without adding thereto or diminishing therefrom, like Yeshayahu, Yirmiyahu, and the others, we demand a miracle from him, ... So, what he says, it doesn't matter whether someone claiming to be a prophet is Jewish or not. We have examples in the Tanakh of Jews who were false prophets, like Hananiah ben Azur, and non-Jews who we give them the status of prophets. In the Talmud, there are different discussions, different opinions, but at least some of Iyov and his friends are identified as non-Jews, and they're also identified as prophets. There's also the case of Bilam, who There's a disagreement in the commentators whether he's actually a prophet or not. He's obviously a bad guy, but Iyov and his friends are not bad guys, are identified as prophets, and at least some of them are also identified as not being Israelites. So it doesn't matter what your yichus is, what your descent is. Whether you're Jewish or not, you have the potential of being a prophet. And Rambam is giving us here examples of such prophets. This is in marked contrast to other Jewish philosophies, for instance, that of Rihal, Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, as encoded in his work Sefer HaKuzari, where he claims that there's a qualitative difference between Jews and non-Jews, where Jews have this quality that he calls Inyan Eloki, the divine something. One of its primary purposes or functions is that it gives you the potential of being a prophet. And he claims that Jews have this and non-Jews, for various reasons I'm not going to get into here, do not. But what's clear here in Igeret Teiman is that, at least according to Rambam and the Talmudic sources that he's using in his identification of Iyov and his friends as prophets, there is nothing impossible in the idea of someone who is not Jewish being a prophet. All that matters is their message. If their message is, follow the Torah, believe in God, believe in what you have already been told by God and the rules that God has already given you, then they're a true prophet. If they then perform or point out a miraculous occurrence which backs up their prophetic status. If, however, they say, believe in some other God, or follow some other rules, and they try to add or subtract from the Torah, then they are identified as a false prophet. Nivua Bagoyim, at least according to Rambam, Taamin.